Countdown is on. Countdown.
I like the sound.
Oh, you have sound. I don't. All right, welcome everyone to DeFi Standard. It's Mickey B. Fresh, and I got with me
PattyXRP.
Well, the one and only Starfish.
Yeah.
We got a lot of comments from that yesterday in yesterday's video.
Yeah, it seemed like some people found that funny. But...
So, welcome everyone on a nice Saturday morning here, first day of May. Welcome Sevorg. Intro music, yes, we are upping our game here. One at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah, honestly, I could probably listen to that song on loop.
Welcome, Lantern. Glad you made it. Thank you, Josh. Yes, we are. Thank you to Dale for the great intro that he made. Great job, Dale. Welcome, Ben.
Dale's gonna have to tell me where he got that music from.
Yeah, Dale has his
right
sources. Yeah.
Jam band music.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
Hey, Gareth, KD, Nabi, Renee, Melvin, Patrick. I think there's a delay on the chat, like 30 seconds. Hey, Deep Space Flare with a new avatar. I like it.
Oh, Mickey, can you bump my volume up? Or if it sounds better, I just moved my mic closer to me.
Is that better? I'm raising him now. Yeah, Patty, I think we're good now.
Cool. I'm going to rely on the chat. I saw a couple people say that, and I know the last one we had problems. But
yeah.
the video we did yesterday sounded good. They're saying still pump it up. I don't know if we're delayed or not.
We're a little delayed. I got it pumped up.
Nice. All right.
All right. So I think we're going to start today is we're going to build off of yesterday's video of what Patty and I did talking about Dell Chain and Deltec Bank. So if anyone didn't know, I will give shout out to Crypto Eddie for this. She DM'd me and she said that look into Tether, which Deltec Bank basically is the bank that, is the custodian of the fiat for Tether. Now, they're not the issuer of Tether, but they are the bank that is used by Tether. So what does this mean now for Flare? And what does this mean for, the crypto market as a whole, for XRP, Flare, and how Tether operates? So Patty and I were just talking before this live stream, and there is something very interesting here that I just thought of. How the exchanges, if Tether is issued typically on Ethereum, it has high gas fees and it's very slow. Now, if you issued Tether, just now we're speculating here. I mean, this is the Tether Bank. So if they issued that on Flare, it would have low gas fees, fast settlement. What does that mean, Patty? Now, that if you had Tether on Flare, what does that open up? What new opportunities here?
Yeah, so I think everybody knows like the market capitalization of Tether is around 50 billion USD, which is crazy. And also it has the biggest like pairing in crypto with Bitcoin to USDT. And I know there's controversy around Tether, but the fact is that it's used very broadly throughout crypto. And, one of the things that helps the crypto market go in DeFi is access to stablecoins. So, I think it's very interesting that that Flare is now partnered with the bank that custodies the Tether cash equivalents and stuff. So I just think it opens up more markets and for people to come into Tether, especially from the exchange side, or rather come onto Flare with Tether. So I think it's just opening more gateways, to get volume on to the Flare network and bring more value over. I mean, I'm very excited to hear if there's going to be more to this partnership than, just on the face what we know just with this Deltec Bank's other kind of partnerships they have.
So Tether does scare. So like Garrett says, Tether scares me. And I think it scares kind of everybody. But, it's still the biggest market when it comes to Bitcoin trading. Now, when you see those issuances of 400 million Tether was issued, it's not necessarily that Tether was sold yet. And I think that's what gets people a little out of whack. I think it's going to pump the markets. So we don't know exactly. But yeah, it would be similar. Deep Space Flare brings up a good point. Similar to Gala migrating to Flare networks. And that is something we're definitely going to be talking about today because there's an awful lot of confusion. Well, with Tether, it's a little different, I think, because Tether could be issued on multiple different blockchains. Like it's issued on, Ethereum, then it's on the Omni network. And like USDC is on Stellar, and then it's also on Ethereum. So it's the same asset, but it has different actually functionality. Tether on Flare would have low gas fees and be fast settlement. Now, with Gala, so a lot of people are talking about Gala, Patty, and I want to clear up some confusion here. Gala is not going to be an F asset. Gala is going to be ported, basically, is one of the words, onto Flare. So it's going to be, its native chain will now be Flare Network, where F assets typically have their own blockchains, and you're bringing the asset over. Gala is actually just moving to Flare. So it's going to be like an FLR20 token that's just natively on Flare. Now, what does this mean for basically everyone who owns Gala?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about it because one of the first things Hugo wanted to tackle with on Flare Network is the gaming industry. And, gaming's already technical. So people are more inclined to technology and moving into crypto. So it's kind of like a perfect pairing. What it's going to help with is I think these NFTs that are running, that are available through the Gala Games. So right now they have one called Town Star, which is like a town, like a city town building game. And then they're going to have one called Mirandus, where this is like a MMORPG. So it's like, think of World of Warcraft kind of mixed with Minecraft, that kind of game. And that's going to be launching towards the end of the year. But interestingly enough, they've been issuing land properties in the game as NFTs, and people have been buying them. So I know Flare Network went ahead and bought, there's these 6 citadels basically that have real estate in the game. And it's like, something that people can own and kind of control what goes on there within the game's context. And Flare Network went ahead, and I want to say they bought one called Citadel of the Moon. Ooh. I don't know what the price was on that, but I do know one of the other citadels, like maybe at the beginning of the year or right before, right at the end of 2020, was purchased for $1.3 million. So it's really crazy. But, the thing that the CEO of Gala Games stated that basically the NFTs that they have are unusable on Ethereum, and they're just waiting for Flare Network to launch to really start, having a go with all that stuff. And there's just so much that can be done with gaming, especially with NFTs. Like in the future, you could basically have items that could maybe port between games and stuff like that. So, and then you have control over what you earn. Oh, wow. Spencer H said the Moon Citadel was 3.8 million. Jeez.
Yeah, so it goes to show how these gaming economies are starting to become real economies and mixing in. This is the thing, is you're going to create a bigger market for gamers without those gas fees. That's the one thing I think that holds everything back on Ethereum. Anything done in small transactions that aren't large transactions, they're just not capable on Ethereum. And you could build all the side nets and layer 2s you want. You still got to come back to the main net, where Flare is a whole different network. And that's what makes it, uniquely different, but it has all the same capabilities. So it's superior to a lot of the, side chains. And you know what? There is a place for them, I think, on Ethereum. But the projects that are going to launch in the future are just going to start on a network that's built the right way. I think that's where we're going with that. Is the mic good for everybody? Because I saw somebody say something. It's more difficult to do the mic when it's two people. That's sometimes where we have a problem with that.
We're just very amateur video makers.
Yeah,
so
we're getting it on video. Like I have it down.
We're only a
with me
few months in.
When I have it by myself, it's good. Then I gotta switch it to when it's two people. But yeah, metaverse real estate. Good one, Josh. I do think that's where we're going. All right. See,
could I?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I add in here just on kind of the mechanics of? I saw somebody ask about like if we move Gala from Ethereum to Flare, will it be redeemable? So basically, what you're gonna do is, I don't know what the exact mechanism for doing this is, but it will burn that Gala on Ethereum, and then it will be issued on the Flare network, and that's where you will own it now. So you can't like go back to Ethereum. So that's like a big point to get across. So like it's not working like an F asset in that way. The F assets don't have the native token burned at all, since they're issuing directly on Flare, and Flare is now going to be the Gala token's native blockchain. Then that's kind of like the whole reason it's not an F asset. It's not going to have that like integration. There's no like native blockchain and all that.
So Dennis Hausman asked, will DeFi projects on Ethereum be portable onto Flare? So the question is, yes, they will be. And we'll probably see more of that. But at the same time, we don't want to see like an oversaturation. There's nothing that can control these projects from just porting onto Flare. Like it's an open source technology once it comes out, and a decentralized network. So anyone is going to be free to issue assets like FLR20 or do what Gala Games is doing. But with F assets, that's a governance function. So it'll be up to all the Spark holders to vote for what the other F assets will be in the future. Now with the actual just bringing over our projects, I think we will see some. We know the Ethereum community is kind of, got the maxi thing just like Bitcoin. So I don't know how they're going to react at first to this. And it's still far enough away, and I don't think it's got enough media attention to where it's, made a point to Ethereum. But it will soon once it goes live and it gets more attention. So we're just early to the game, and at least we'll understand it before everyone else would. What are the projects you think would be ported, like that you could see, Patty, besides Gala?
Yeah, so I definitely think NFT, like any of the NFT projects right off the bat, those, I think those are like primed to be brought over. And I know Flare Networks tweeted out like maybe a week ago that they know a big NFT project that's going to be on Flare Network. So they said they're going to announce that on May 8th. And the thing, like, obviously there's a lot of hype and mania around some of these NFTs, but there are very practical uses for them in a lot of different ways. Like one of them that I'm really excited about is, like, this may be a smaller use case, but you think about just like people that have small like bands and stuff like that, and they post their music on SoundCloud or Spotify, but they're not getting like hundreds of millions of listens because they're not like the most popular. They could basically issue NFTs in the future where you could buy the rights to use their music and broadcast and stuff like that. So like I'm really interested in doing that. Like what if somebody were to basically make a movie that's like, maybe a small, what would you say, like whatever the budget for it's like maybe 500K or something like that, like some art house film, and they could just issue it as an NFT and then earn royalties off people watching it. It just kind of like opens up possibilities, especially for like smaller content creators to get value out of what they're doing. And I think that's going to like help a lot with, competition in the space. It's like, there's only a few platforms where you can really make a lot of money content creating, and you have to be one of the most viewed people there. But if it's like, this will drive the value to like how much people are actually enjoying your content, because like they are paying you for how much time they're watching. So the more people watch it, then the more money is going to come to that person. I think it just democratizes like content creation a ton.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could do small value here is going to be important on Flare Network, where you don't have, the gas fees are a killer. It's like those projects aren't even fathomable on Ethereum. So Arnabi asks, can you tell me what effectively you earn a month from staking 8,500 Spark? So you don't necessarily stake Spark. I mean, you can stake Spark in the F asset system, but the main utility and use case is to delegate the votes that come with it. So you'll be able to stake your Spark and delegate simultaneously. So by delegating your votes, you'll be earning more Spark. You can hold your Spark at that time and just delegate. Or you can use your Spark by staking it in the F asset system with an agent and earn the underlying F assets, which would be like XRP, BTC, LTC, XLM, and earn the Spark compounding every day. And FTSO.eu, who's a signal provider, has stated that you'll be able to automatically delegate your votes to them, and then as you earn the Spark, those will give you more votes, so it'll automatically delegate the new votes. So it'll be just compounding daily if you're working with that signal provider. And then that it will just bypass them. So as you receive the reward Spark, you won't get it from the signal provider. You'll get it actually from the FTSO directly to you. So what this does is it minimizes trust down to zero almost. So there's no risk in delegating your vote. You're not giving up your Spark if you don't want to. So this is going to be the first step on the Flare network when they go live, because they're not going to be letting you issue F assets right away, but you'll be able to delegate your Spark. So you're going to want to look to delegating your Spark votes and earning more Spark right away. And then they're going to probably want you to stake it, which will then build up the F asset system. So there's collateral in there to issue all these F assets. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that was great. I did see, so Frank Sperano asked, he's like, I've heard the interest rates in Kava are pretty high. How will Flare compare? So yeah, I'm going to work on a video just to kind of go over the FTSO rewards, but just from what I've been doing, like with spreadsheets and stuff like that so far, I definitely think you could probably double your starting amount of Spark, like whatever that 15% you get by the end of the year. So like not adding in any of the additional Spark that you'll receive like over that 6-month period. But if you compound it, like there's a lot of opportunity, and a lot of it's going to depend on participation. So if everybody's participating for like the eligible Spark that can be delegated to the FTSO, the rewards are definitely going to be lower. But every day there's 27 million Spark being delivered through the FTSO. So, over 180 days, that's 5 billion. It's pretty crazy, especially for like to bootstrap the network, the possibilities there. It's like in the first week, what if people are really slow to start using Flare and there's only like 5 to 10% participation in FTSO voting? Like you have an opportunity to, make a lot of Spark in that beginning period for Flare. Because as the participation increases, which I only assume it should happen over time until it levels out, then, the rewards are going to go down. Also, like, I would say that it's probably likely that the inflation rate gets reduced after 6 months once the Spark community is able to vote on that. I don't think people are going to want to keep the inflation super high for a long period of time, especially if it's needed. That's another thing. But I don't think 10% is going to be needed per year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It really depends on the situation of the ecosystem and the network. Does it need more collateral? Does it need more F assets issued? It depends on the parameters at that time, after 6 months. But if you are delegating your votes, in a way, there's going to be this balance between people greedy who are going to want the rewards, because it's not like people are going to take these rewards and then go dump them on the market, because they're going to earn more as they earn the Spark inflation, that allows them to earn more Spark. So they're going to be very less likely to go just dump that right on the market, because it's going to be able to get them more Spark. So especially when you can auto-delegate like that, that's going to limit any of that inflation dumping that you see on other networks. So there was another good question up here. I saw Patty. Oh, Kava. So Kava is a little different in the sense that, and I think there will be interoperability in the future between Cosmos and Flare Network, because they say that in the white paper. So I expect to see that in the future. How that interoperability will work, I'm not sure. But Kava basically is a blockchain with using the Cosmos SDK. So it's not as big of a network as, say, Flare is. Like Flare is a whole network that could have a bunch of projects on it. Kava is specifically a project that's attached to Cosmos. Yes, it's its own network in a way, but it's specifically for one use case. So I think more of a comparison would be like Kava to Flare Finance. I mean, in that sense. But, I think we'll see interoperability in the future with that. I can't say one's better than the other. Kava's been up and running for longer. So, and you have the hard protocol. And I know they're going to have an automated market maker liquidity thing soon. So we'll see with that.
Yeah. And so I actually see somebody said Trustline won't be online for many months, which I actually was thinking was the case originally, but this kind of takes us into something else we want to talk about. The Trustline project with Matt Rosenden had their first successful proof of concept, issuing RE stablecoin on the XRPL testnet with the Flare network basically as the counterparty, which is a decentralized blockchain. So it's a really interesting way to think of it, in my opinion. And we reached out to Matt, and he said that he's trying to have RE ready to go at launch of the Flare mainnet. He said it was dependent on just some like API stuff that they needed and whether that comes in time. So we may have a decentralized stablecoin right out the bat for the Flare network launching, which would be really cool.
Just to add to that, I think that what he meant when he said months in advance, that's the Trustline app, is what I think would be like 6 months in advance. But I think Probity and the RA stablecoin would be ready to go much earlier with that, especially since they already have the integration on the XRP Ledger, which is pretty fast already. So you'll be able to put your collateral in and then issue that stablecoin right to your XRP wallet, like your Zum wallet. And then you'll have it on the XRP Ledger. So talk about integration. I mean, that's like as interoperable as it gets right there. So this is the power of that two-way bridge to the XRP Ledger. So it's one way and then also goes back the other way. So this is what allows why XRP Ledger is more unique than the other F assets. Now, I doubt we'll see that with like XLM or Litecoin. Well, there's no reason to really go back to Litecoin or Doge to do anything on there. XLM, maybe, but it shows it's a utility fork of the XRP Ledger. So they're building from the foundation here, integrations that will allow you to go back. And RA being on, so let's talk about that, Patty. What does it mean that RA being on the XRP Ledger, what does that give, the ledger?
Yeah, so I mean, it gives you that stable unit of account that's decentralized and counterparty-less, and it's lacking that right now. So, one of the issues with using the DEX on the XRP ledger is the fact that like XRP is a floating value in comparison to the US dollar, which most of the world's transactions go through. And when you add this, counterparty-less stablecoin to the XRP ledger, now it gives an actual stable value to trade against, which is key when you're trying to, like, let's say you just want to pull out of the market for a second, but you don't want to go all the way out. Well, you can, normally you just sit in fiat dollars, like if you're trading on a stock exchange, but this brings that ability now to the XRP ledger and Flare network. So, I mean, I think it's huge. And also like RE is going to be able to trade and, transact, for the cheap fees and with the efficiency and speed that XRP does, which, I think is a big, big plus.
Oh, let's just go back to this question. I saw this twice. The prices of Gala on Ethereum and Flare will be different. It was my understanding that the whole project was getting ported to Flare network, right? So there won't be any more Gala Ethereum in the future, right?
That's my understanding.
Or Ethereum Gala.
Yeah.
So it'll be one price. I don't know how that. We'll get into that in the future on how the actual process will work, because you're going to have to probably transfer. Think of how like PundyX did theirs and some of these other projects. Yeah, and Deep Space Flare. So with RA, that adds to like the Flare finance ecosystem, because one thing, a decentralized stablecoin being on Flare and the XRP ledger, you could have liquidity pools with, two stablecoins. We have the decentralized stablecoin, and then you have something like Cross USD. So that's interesting when it comes to impermanent loss and other things. When the two assets are correlated in price, you have very minimal impermanent loss. So those are complementary to each other in a way.
I was going to add, so we were talking about this yesterday, I think, Mickey, but so some of the liquidity pools on Ethereum are between two stable coins. So like, let's say you're using Cross USD in the Flare Finance ecosystem, but now all of a sudden you need to go over to the XRP Ledger, then you could swap between them on, if there's a pairing for Cross USD and RE on Flare Finance, like on their decks, swap between them and then take RE over to the XRP Ledger to be used there. So like it just, that's another way though. Like if you wanted to avoid impermanent loss and you weren't looking to grow any value at the time, you could just put 2 stable coins in on both sides of a liquidity pool and earn fees. Since their price stays the same and it's pegged to the US dollar, there's no change and you just get yield that way. So I think that's like another interesting thing we could use in the future. But yeah.
Oh, so DB Cooper asks you, Patty, taking a loan out on Trustline, non-taxable transaction, does paying the total loan, TL loan with tokens trigger a CG? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, pretty much anything with loans.
I don't know how they're going to track that.
Yeah. I mean, if anything with loans is usually not taxable. Now, it's not financial advice. I'm not a tax expert, and neither is Patty. But yeah, anything with a loan, I think you're good. You're going to be paying the loan back with, whatever you took it out in, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's saying like, if you use
in the
FXRP, I mean, if you pay it back in like FXRP or Spark and the price has gone up, I mean,
DeFi is a mess with taxes right now.
I think people are too worried about taxes.
I would not worry about DeFi and taxes.
If you're going to sell out into fiat, then obviously save enough to pay that taxes. But with the DeFi stuff, let's wait and see what comes from Codius. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta wait, DB Cooper. I mean, it's a good question.
I mean, it's a risk question. I mean, like personally, I'm not going to worry about taxes because I know what's in front of me and what I want to do. If you're more risk adverse, then maybe you're going to be more worried about taxes, but that's just a decision you have to make. And if you are that worried, then you should keep money on the sidelines to pay it off. Otherwise, you'll need to sell your assets in the future if something like we get some terrible tax laws or something like that. So, it's a risk thing. It's what are you willing to accept as risk? So,
all right. So if we mint F assets, the agent has to provide 2.5 times collateral. One XRP is $5. Agent puts up 2.5 times, which is $12.5 as Spark as collateral. But XRP goes to 100. They run away. They with the collateral, and XRP is now 100. So in real time, before that gets a chance to go to 100, and you could add to this, Patty, the collateral adjusts. So it's not just it goes from 12.5 to 100. The agent does not custody your XRP. You have a claim on getting your XRP back. That claim is attached to the F asset system and the smart contracts on the Flare network. It is not the agent who you're trusting. And if you want to explain the real-time managing of that there, Patty.
Yeah, so, okay, first of all, since it updates, the FTSO is going to update so quickly on prices like every couple seconds. The XRP price isn't going to go up to $100 from $5 in a couple seconds before the pricing can adjust and more collateral has to be put in. I'm going to argue that XRP's price is not even going to go up more than a couple dollars at most in the craziest bull market in a couple seconds. I mean, there's people constantly trading. That doesn't happen that fast. It could happen over a day and go up that high. I mean, that wouldn't be the craziest thing I've ever seen, but the FTSO would be adjusting constantly. And also, like, as these agents have to put, they're not going to run away with your XRP. First of all, I have an example of this on our website, the DeFi standard on the F assets page. But basically, they would be losing more value in that collateral they posted than they would from keeping XRP if it went up to some crazy price. So there's no incentive for them to do so. And there's actually a massive incentive for them to not run away with people's assets.
And it's
so
also,
just from a purely economic standpoint, it makes no sense for agents to not honor redemptions because they're penalized extremely heavily.
All right, I think you said it pretty well. I want to answer Anthony's question here because this is a good one. It's something I want to talk about, but I just want to add one thing to that, what you said there. So if that agent does, agents would be like exchanges, custodians, market makers. if that agent doesn't honor the claim, another agent will kind of take it over, like David Schwartz's stablecoin proposal. So then they'll get their collateral. So there's an incentive for not just them not to do it, but for if they don't, then somebody else will, and they'll make out from it. And in the last ditch effort, which would be the fail-safe, is the collateral will go to you. So there are safety measures in precaution here. And now on top of that, they're adding a layer of security, is that the agents will be kind of custodians themselves. So it'll be trustless, and then the people who are operating the trustless system are kind of regulated entities to begin with. So that's why they're trying to make it the most trustless, most secure system possible. But we have to wait and see for details. But anyways,
Can I piggyback off that one more thing?
Go ahead.
And with the point on who these agents are going to be, like you're saying, is going to be like known entities in business in the space. So that's a massive hit on, their their clout with the crypto community if they run away with people's funds. So, that's just another reason why they wouldn't do it. Like, imagine if, let's just say, for example, Pat Global is acting as an agent and then they ran away with people's funds. I mean, I think that would do a lot of damage to their reputation, way more than they get from running away with XRP. So, on top of already getting penalized by the Flare network, they're going to get penalized by the crypto community. So.
Yes, good point. That was good to add. All right. So Anthony G asks here, how do you think Codius will play out with Flare? So if anyone hasn't seen, we're going to do a video probably either later tonight or tomorrow on what Stefan Thomas said about Codius. Now, the whole plan with Codius, so everyone understands here, Codius is meant to be built on top of Interledger. And it's supposed to be distributed applications that are distributed above blockchains and different ledgers. So Flare Networks has their own smart contracts, which use the Ethereum virtual machine. Those smart contracts are for applications specifically built on Flare. Codius is meant for like interledger connectors and the whole interledger network, which is going to connect above all that. So Codius couldn't be used. It's a hosting protocol, and inside of that hosting protocol, different crypto conditions, which are kind of like light smart contracts that use multi-signature, multi-layer, and multi-algorithms, happen between blockchains. So they're able to be, the verification of those might use the underlying blockchains, but they exist above the blockchains and they're distributed applications. So it's kind of, think of like machine-to-machine payments and things like that. That's where we're going in the future. So smart contracts that aren't tied to a blockchain is what Codius is going to do in the future. So it's the kind of complementary, I think, to Flare and the XRP Ledger. It's one of the reasons they didn't put smart contracts into the XRP Ledger. I think they just thought the Codius and Interledger would have been up faster than it was. Things move slower in the short term, but in the long term, they move really fast. So that's how I look at that. Interledger network is coming soon. That's something we just, should expect.
Yeah. And on that point, like, there's a lot of different projects that are like going into like cross-chain, interoperability and compatibility across like cross-chain and stuff like that, so they can offer their services and products on multiple blockchains. And there's a lot of space to move things off the blockchain, so everything doesn't have to happen there. I know I saw somebody earlier talking about like using side chains and stuff like that on Ethereum. There's a lot of use cases for it. So, basically, I don't know how you see a side chain, Mickey, but to me, it's almost like basically like a mini blockchain that's just connected on the side. So like it may have a little less validators and things like that. So there's probably more trust involved with that, but there's definitely a lot of use cases.
One use case I saw for that would be like dark pools. Like that's exactly where something like that could happen in the future. If you're looking at kind of like Flare could have these little side chains concepts that are more of a centralized, grouping of market makers or something. I mean, there's use cases that will come in the future from that, because anything Ethereum could do, Flare's going to be able to do, and probably just better. I mean, that's just the facts of the technology. It's just how it's designed and the gas fees. So the only thing that we really don't know yet fully details about is like the nodes and how, if there will be any ability to earn money through those. So we'll see. with the gas
So,
fees.
I've seen, at least for like Flare network, that people running nodes are going to have some kind of opportunities. I've seen stuff where Pack Global with their master nodes have been kind of marketing that you can earn Spark by running those. I know Gala is trying to get that set up. I don't know if they've successfully done it yet. So I think there's definitely a lot of like additional opportunities on top of just using these DeFi products directly.
So AEE20B Anthony asks, does Codius have tokens? No. Codius is a hosting protocol that will be able to have, well, be on top in the ledger that will host different types of smart contracts. But no, it's not going to have its own token. Not that I'm aware of or they ever spoke of. But then again, who knows in the future? I mean, I'll never say never. You know, we never know with the token things these days. And we know Logos kind of was a company and a project that Ripple absorbed. And they had their own token. So, you know, never say no, never. You know, who knows? Polysign could have its own token. I'm not saying it will, but you never know until the things actually are out. So Crypto Whale asks, if we mint out crypto as F assets and a blackout happens, what happens to the Flare networks? Do our F assets, I would think, disappear? What do you think on that one? So
I mean,
blackout,
I think it'd be pretty similar. Like like XRP Ledger can send like SMS stuff. So like even if we have a blackout, it's just like nothing's running on the ledger at the time. So whatever the last reported state when everything gets booted back up would be whatever the state of the network is. So I mean, what's going to happen to your dollars in a bank account if there's a massive blackout? I mean, I don't really know. It's kind of it's kind of like a situation where you may have bigger problems at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the smart contract should be tied. I mean, it connects everything together. So as long as they're stored on nodes, I mean, it's just like if a network goes down, it can spin back up. I mean, XRP Ledger is pretty robust to where if a couple nodes go down, so that's the geographic spreading out. So if there's a blackout in one area and there's nodes all over the world, it's not going to affect the whole network. If the whole internet goes down, well, then we got a bigger problem than your F assets. So looking at it like that, the more spread out the nodes and validators are geographically over the world, the better. When they're concentrated all in one place, that's the concern. That's why people have a problem with, China and the Bitcoin validators, the miners, because they're all in one location. If something happens there, then you have a problem. Where if they're spread out all over the world, it's less likely that we're going to have, a global catastrophe. And if that does happen, like Patty said, there's bigger problems at hand.
Yeah, at that point, that's when I want cash in my pocket and small coin, like silver coins.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to be running around with like gold bars. I feel like that's just screaming like, look at me, I have everything, please come attack me. I'll stick with little silver coins. That's the thing for that situation.
He asks good questions though. Tough ones sometimes, but you ask good questions, Crypto Whale.
Just don't spam him, Crypto Whale.
I think he does it by accident, hitting too fast. Sometimes the phone is delayed. I've done that before on YouTube. I remember being on Brad's channel and hit it like 3 times and it comes up. So
I'll give him a break.
All right. So I just wanted to let everyone know with this month I'm gonna do a quick little thing over this of our Patreon. We're adding Discord to that and we're streamlining the Zoom calls. So anyone who wants to be part of that, it's 8 to 10 Zoom calls a month. And we'll have a whole video library that you could go through, and we'll have Telegram and a whole Discord server set up. That's going to eventually be bridging to Deep Space Flare over there on Flare Finance. So we are expanding outwards and preparing for the content that's coming from Flare Network and the launch. So we're still in this holding pattern, I guess you could say. But as we move forward, the information is going to get released, and we want to be prepared as much as we can, and we really do discuss everything in there in those Zoom calls in depth. And now that the tiers are streamlined, it makes it easier to get access, and I think we could provide even more value than we have already. Is there anything you want to add to that, Patty?
Yeah, so for any of the Zoom tiers, those will get access to any spreadsheets we put out. Right now, the first one we have planned is earning with the FTSO and general rewards pool. And you can put in your own numbers and stuff and see what kind of outcomes are possibilities. It's very dependent on, what assumptions you make, but you can do a range of them just to see like, okay, what's probably the worst case scenario and how much I can earn, or, what's a really good scenario, just depending on how the market reacts. So that'll be available there too. And let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, I feel like that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, so we streamlined the Zoom call. So it's just really just one tier. Either you want live or you want basically just to watch the replays every week. And that'll be Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's streamlined, and then we added the Discord. So that will be opening up today. And today is May 1st. And we are getting closer to the Flare launch, which is exciting. And then after that, it's going to be basically Flare Finance, and then we're going to see Trustline. I mean, speaking of Flare Finance, I did want to touch on that. So everyone just remembers, roughly a month after the Flare network goes live, there will be a snapshot of your Spark tokens and Deep Space Flare. What is the ratio down to? I just saw recently it was down to 172 to 1. Of your Spark to Y Flare. So they'll snapshot your Spark. So it doesn't matter if you had your XRP on an exchange or a self-custody wallet during the first snapshot in December. Whatever Spark you have a month after Flare Network goes live, you want to make sure that Spark is in a Flare Finance supporting exchange or Flare Finance supporting wallet, a 168 to 1. You'll get, for every 168 Spark you have, you'll get 1 Y Flare. So it doesn't matter what the allocation and all that is. It's whatever you have a month after in Spark. So you'll have time to accumulate more by earning Y Flare. Earning Spark to get more Y Flare, or buying Spark to get more Y Flare. So that's decisions that need to be made there based on how you want to utilize in the Flare Finance ecosystem. And then you'll have to take that D-Flare and go onto Flare X and swap it for Y Flare. So there is a little process there. It's not like people are going to get things for free and then be able to dump them. So you're going to have to put in a little work and a little effort and watch some like tutorial videos, I believe. So to get familiar with the Flare Finance ecosystem, and then you get your Y Flare. And then from there, it's a decentralized ecosystem. Yeah, so it's exciting, and I think Forte Games is another one that's coming. Speaking of Gala Games, Forte is another one we haven't heard about, and that's coming. So yeah, 170 to 1. That's a big difference from, what was it a couple months ago? It was like 700 to 1. Right? Yeah, it's gone down. So more people are claiming their Spark. That's what's lowering that ratio, so everyone knows. So more Spark is being claimed from the original snapshot.
Cool. So I saw a good question that I want to touch on. So DB Cooper says, at Flare Network launch, will Flare Network and agents rush to buy Spark, or is Flare Network already flush with Spark? Minting FXRP will be a huge burden to issue Spark. Okay, so let me touch on that first part. Personally, I think the IOU is extremely overvalued. If that price were to hold at launch, excluding any Flare Net or Flare Foundation Spark that's allocated to them, then the market cap would be $20 billion at launch, which I just think is really high for a new project. You can look at like Polkadot, I kind of have been using to compare, as well as like ADA. They just seem bigger ones that are a little comparable since they have smart contracts, and like Polkadot was very hyped coming out, and then Cardano has a lot of tokens, so that's kind of how I've been looking at it. But yeah, so additionally on that, we don't know how many agents are going to be participating right out the gate. They're going to have a week or two before they actually have to put up collateral, so that's another thing to take into account. And I just think a lot of people don't know about Flare Network yet. Like, I think everybody that comes to this channel, or like Indy's channel or the Flare community channel, are in the minority of XRP holders, let alone these other integrated blockchains. So I think the market's going to dump it, especially off the get-go. And the price is going to be, I personally would bet sub 50 cents, but
I think XRP's price matters,
but
though at the time.
But like at launch, it's not going to be. There's not going to be any F asset value there that's giving that price floor. it's just going to be free trading of Spark. And a lot of times when these network launches, there's like a big sell-off at the beginning from, you know, people that have gotten it. So we have people getting it airdropped and stuff like that. So I think there's just gonna be a lot of people that see it as free money and not understand what, you know, the benefits and like what the true potential with Flare is, that are just gonna sell it out. Especially when they're like, oh, look at this IOU that's going up in price. Like, you know, I can make money right here real quick. So the nice thing about this distribution, though, with it being over time, is the people that, you know, are inclined to sell it really quickly, after a month or two, they may start seeing, oh, look, all these people are doing pretty good with their activities on the Flare network. Let me not sell it anymore when I get this airdrop and actually hold and use this asset. So
Josh goes minority of a minority of a minority.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I mean, he does have a point there. Like, unless though, I'll just play the other side of this a little. Unless there is a big announcement that brings attention to Flare much more than it is now. So if we had to assume now, I think Patty's right on. If it happened right now, like XRP stays same price, everything's the same. If XRP's price goes to $10, you know, by then, it just changes, I think, a lot of XRP holders' mentality on how they'll use their XRP on Flare too, and how they'll be less likely, I think, to sell Spark. You know, it's really going to depend on that time, and I think it's a wait and see and just observe as things happen. We just,
that's,
you know, it's hard to say.
That's the thing. Like, you know, we're operating with not all the information at this point, so, you know, all these kind of takes can change in the future as things change over the next couple of months. You know, maybe when Flare releases their code and people see like what the technical capabilities of the network are and everything, it starts getting talked about more broadly. But I mean, I guess the best way to figure this out at this point, if there's a lot of Spark that's unclaimed, I think that's going to be an indicator of low usage, at least at the immediate beginning. Also, like, just seeing, are people going to start covering Flare when it gets closer to launch more? I think that's something to watch out for. You know, how much is it talked about on social media? I mean, those are like the best indicators you have, because there's not really anything that tells you what kind of volume that could come on off the bat, other than just kind of observing what people talk about. You know, generally that's like Bitcoin's talked about the most on social media, and of course that's like the largest one. So that's just kind of how I look at it, and that's how I'm kind of basing my analysis on who's going to be using it. Also, how much there is to understand about it is, you know, I think that's a barrier, especially at the beginning. Is if you're not like getting ready now, it's going to be really hard to get ready in a week before Flare launches and feel comfortable with using all this stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, here's a question that was for you, Patty. Do I need both the ZUM and cold wallet decent? So, you know, I'll just throw in something before, if you want to answer on top. Like, I think they'll both work together. Like, the hardware nano ledgers are great, but they're not going to be able to be enough to facilitate all the things you're going to need to do to use these actual assets. They'll work with them, but you're going to need more on top. So, yeah, I think DB Cooper, you know, I'm looking into the ZUM more so. So they're at 2.0, and they're going to be at 3.0 soon. So the ZUM app, you know, in these, you have an XRP account, and then you have an XRP wallet, which would be the ZUM, like the app, basically say. So the Decent works with that. I mean, that's one choice. Some people have the ZUM with the Tangum card with the little chip in them. So that's another option there. DB Cooper, I know that they made special ZUM cards just there. So you basically hold your phone over the microchip or the NFC thing, and it signs the transactions. So basically, it's much easier to use than using just, say, a nano ledger for a lot of stuff. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I would like to get one of those, but I got to wait and see what these Flare wallets look like, because I don't even know how much I'll be using an XRP wallet in the future. You know, unless there's something that I'm going to be earning money with on the XRP ledger side with my assets, it's like, you know, all the value for me to increase like what I've already accumulated is on Flare. Like, otherwise, you know, right now it's basically just sitting on the XRP ledger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like they built this. I'm like, oh man, it's too late. I wish, like, hopefully, I know they're not going to do anything on Flare, at least from what we know so far. But I'm
knows?
hoping they start to offer that kind of stuff on Flare. That would be really nice. I don't know why they wouldn't. They're, because they're going to be very intertwined, the Flare blockchain and the XRP Ledger. So it seems like a natural thing for Zum to get into in the future.
Well, I think Interledger is going to play a role in this whole connecting these
point.
two things together. There was a whole plan with this whole development, and these million different wallets you have, it's this wallet, that company, they need to tie the stuff together. So I think that's where we're going in the future. Will Flare Farm be like PancakeSwap? No, Flare X will be like PancakeSwap and Uniswap. Flare Farm will be more like, what can you say Flare Farm is like? More like Yearn Finance, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like...
I mean, it's just like a token launching platform.
It's a token launch. You mine. It's liquidity mining. So you would use Flare X, just like PancakeSwap, and you provide liquidity. You get an LP token, and you take that LP token and you put it in Flare Farm to basically farm YFin. Now, there will be one-sided pools with lower APY, but the two-sided pools in Flare X give you the LP token to go to Flare Farm. So that will earn you the most YFin.
You definitely have to like measure.
Yeah.
So you have to measure like what is the price of the assets that are going into that two-sided liquidity pool? What is the likelihood of them moving, away from each other drastically during that time period? So you need to like factor in the impermanent loss that can happen versus, what is this how much YFin are you getting over that time too? And all these things are like moving numbers. It's not like, that's the one thing with DeFi is like, it's not like the traditional system where you get a bunch of fixed income rates all the time. So there's definitely a lot of like opportunity costs kind of weighing there. Like, are you better off just holding, like, let's say if you did, cross USD and FXRP, are you better off just holding that FXRP or putting it in the two-side liquidity pool and then also farming YFin on, the Flare farm at the same time? So it's definitely a tough question to answer, and I don't know what is the best move at this point. We're gonna have to see where XRP is at price-wise. If XRP has made its big move, I'd say like over $10 by the time Flare Finance is live, then I'm gonna be, I'll have a lot more serious thought on using my FXRP in a two-sided liquidity pool. But if it hasn't moved yet, I don't think I would want to do that. I just think, going up 8x from here or whatever to $10 is probably going to earn you way more than, getting fees from a two-sided pool with that FXRP. So
yeah, we got to see. Yeah, that's one of those things we'll have to have strategy on as we get closer. Because like you said, if XRP goes back down to 70 cents, which $10, it definitely changes how we utilize our value on Flare. And then you got this whole case. So I want to bring that up before we wrap it up here. Or do you want to take some more questions? Will any of these Flare networks apps be like Nexo? So will any of these Flare network apps be like Nexo, where you'll be able to get collateral loans into your fiat, into our bank accounts? They're going to be decentralized applications, but there could be this convergence I see, Crypto King, in the future where the CeFis actually interact with the DeFi protocols. But as of right now, it looks like that it's all going to be like DeFi on Flare. But as more custodians and CeFi integrate, like Celsius maybe, or others, I think we can get that. And Trustline is doing that. So, all right. So what you're saying here, Patty, what he's saying is, getting that fiat into your bank accounts. Trustline is kind of setting that up where their app will have fiat on and off ramps. So when you do take out the loan in RA, you will be able to convert that then to fiat, but that's more down the road. So we're getting there, but I don't think out of launch you'll be able to do that right away. I mean, you'll be able to get the DeFi yield and then borrow against it and then go to an exchange, sell it, and do whatever you want. It just won't be all in one app though. Hopefully that helps. I know it was a little confusing. All right, so I guess the last thing we'll talk about before we wrap it up is the case and what happened there. So if you didn't get a chance to see, they had this long discussion on these memorandums of understanding that the SEC is trying to get. Now I'll just throw my opinion in here before getting all technical. is that what I see this as is like definitely not a desperate attempt, but why were they not trying to collect this evidence during the 2-year investigation? So they had 2 years to do what they're doing now, the SEC, is to get the details of their trading at different exchanges. So one of the points they brought up was, how did Ripple's announcements affect the trading and price of XRP? And I don't know if you're like me, but for 2 years plus in this bear market, I don't know any of Ripple announcements made the price of XRP go up. So I don't see what they're going to find there, because how many of us complained for years that it had no effect on the price? Like Ripple would announce these big things, no effect on price, no effect on price. So I don't know what they're actually looking for or trying to find. Even if this does go like, okay, the judge rules, okay, SEC, you could have all this. What are they really going to find if a lot of the regulators and business partners basically said, no, you can't have this information?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, I mean, I'd say there are specific instances where the XRP price would move. So I think if you've been around for a while, you'll remember the swell pump, which is like normally a big period of announcements for Ripple where the XRP price rises during the time leading up to it. So, I mean, there's stuff like that, but like there's no sustained price, gain or appreciation from Ripple ever announcing stuff. And there were tons of things that like we in the community were like, oh, this is a big deal. And, it really didn't have an effect on price. I think the price in general is very correlated with Bitcoin. And so is the broader crypto market. So to me, I think that this is a much more like legal technical argument that's going on here and I don't really think the outcome of this is going to have a major impact on the case in general. But I do think that the judge is probably going to rule in favor of the SEC for this. And the reasoning behind this is the MOUs they're not like strictly required. It's more like an agreement between regulatory bodies of different countries to help each other out. So I think just via legalese that the judge is going to side with the SEC. Also, I don't know if she wants to stunt, because this is going to set case law for future cases involving the SEC. I don't think she wants to stunt the SEC's capability of attaining info for the long haul and making that more difficult with the ruling here. So I think it just would be a big deal, more so if she ruled in favor of Ripple for like future cases and like this kind of stuff. So we'll have to see. I saw Hogan did a video and he thinks that she'll also rule in favor of the SEC. And I really think it just comes down to like the Ripple team was making there's like these two types of law that one's called de jure and one's de facto. So like what is happening in reality versus what is happening in the terms of law. So like in reality, this may not be a not required thing. Like it may be more required than what the actual like statutes state. So I think that's what Ripple's argument is like, look, the SEC has the full backing of the US government behind it. And, that kind of de facto with the power of the US government, will make people hand over information. Now, the law doesn't necessarily state that. So, it's like what's happening in reality versus what was put down in like this kind of agreement between different nations. So I think it's just a very technical argument that's going on right now. And, I feel like they would have gotten this information before the case. They would have said like, look, obviously XRP doesn't move with the rest of the crypto market. For these reasons, it moves with Ripple announcements. Here are all the instances. Like, why would they wait until, we're already halfway done with discovery to bring that out? I think it's just like an intimidation tactic at this point. So I think that would be like the hardest part on Ripple is if business partners get scared and stuff like that. But I think they're just trying to weaken them. And it's not really to find like any particularly like important info that may be hiding at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So just to take it in a different direction, one thing that is coming up, I think is more relevant than anything, is the SEC has to respond to John Deaton's letter. So I know many of you have read that. It was like 188 pages and there was a 36. So he was able to lay out all these different reasons why XRP is not a digital security now. So they have to respond to that. I think it's by May 3rd, and he's going to be on, I think, on the chain on May 4th with Chip and Jeff. So that's really, I think, something more concerning to us in the short term. So I know this case got a lot of like, oh, we could call in and listen, but what their response to Deaton is going to be really affects us, because how are you going to respond to what he said? I mean, it's going to be very difficult. And it kind of throws this guy Tenero, Mr. SEC lawyer, off his game here, because now you're not just going after the typical defendant. Now you have this side party coming in who you're supposed to be protecting is saying, whoa, you hurt us and you're wrong about this, and we're giving you facts of why you're wrong about this, and it's going to really embarrass them. So I'm curious to see what their response is by May 3rd, which I think is Monday. And then whatever their response is, the judge is going to allow Deaton to speak, and unless they pull something like literally out of their ass that's unbelievable, that's going to, I don't see how they're going to be able to respond to deny him to be heard. So once the judge lets him be heard, he's just going to obliterate their whole case once he's heard. I mean, and that will happen, I think, mid-May, Patty, right? I think Deaton gets to go in there.
Yeah, I want to say the 16th or the 15th, maybe. So
that's
we're pretty close to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
That is going to have an impact, I think, a huge one, much bigger than these little things.
Yeah. And also, like, we just had our pullback in the crypto market, and XRP kind of went really close back to touching some previous resistance, and is now, made its pump up to 160 or 155, whatever it's at right now. And, it's kind of just gone straight to the side, almost like a really long bull flag. But, as this stuff starts building up and as more like good news pops up in the case, other people in the community that have, been bearish on XRP for a long time, like the broader crypto community, not the XRP one. We've already seen some big like content creators starting to jump on XRP that they've announced. So I just think there's a lot of potential for price to move up with all this stuff coming up, and then with Flare launching. So it'll be really interesting.
Well, I think we could see a in-between here. So what happens is XRP gets clarity from this Deaton thing, and now XRP will have actually either summary judgment that it's not a digital security, totally separate from whatever happens with Ripple, Brad, and Chris. If we get it that from Deaton could get that XRP is clearly not a security, either ruled by law in the court or the SEC publicly has to state that XRP is not a security, it'll be the only asset that will have that clarity, regardless of what's continuing to go on with Ripple. Okay, if they package it as an investment contract, that case will still go on, but XRP will be free and the market will be free, and it'll actually it's a chance that it will be the only asset that has full clarity, even beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum, because they'll have to state it, the SEC, or the courts will just decide that this is clearly, the XRP out there right now is not a security. And then that will be law, and it can't double jeopardy, it can't bring it back again. And that would free up everything then. So it would be the only asset with clarity. So we would be going from the one asset that is in court being said it's a security to being completely clear. And this is why I don't think a settlement is going to happen here, because a settlement would have happened already. And Ripple is not going to agree to anything that's going to keep them tied to the SEC with their escrow or anything. This is why there's no settlement. I mean, I know in the beginning, obviously, they said 95% of things settle. There still is a chance. But at this point, if I'm Ripple and you know that the XRP community is intervening, why would you settle? I mean, that's where I look at it. I would just keep hammering home, get clarity for XRP, and then get Brad and Chris's thing thrown out. And then, the last
Ripple
piece
can take some fines, It's like not a big deal if they end up having to take some. It's really, obviously Chris and Brad don't want to be held responsible, like individually responsible for any of this, since it's a lot harder for them to absorb it than like, a firm basically. And then,
So I just wanted to answer Joyful Diamond. So any word when Flare will be available for all of us? Some states are banned from participating. Not that I'm aware of. You can't ban a decentralized network. So
maybe she's talking about the airdrop.
The only one that I know is if you had in New York and you were on Coinbase during the snapshot. That's the only one I'm aware of. And I'm in New York, but I didn't use Coinbase. But I am aware they did that a couple days before. Those people will not be receiving, according to Coinbase, which I still think is tough. But once you have your Spark on a decentralized, you move it to then a decentralized wallet or anything, there's no banning anything with DeFi. You can't ban because you're outside of the scope of the exchanges and the endpoints. So it's just all software and it operates. So that's why DeFi is going to keep exploding. And the CFTC is letting it happen, and it's outside the scope of the SEC. So the SEC is not going to say that blockchain networks are securities. Like, that's just ridiculous. Don't even get me started with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
we're going to wrap it up on that note. All right. So, everyone, have a great weekend. And, yes, IPO, he says, going to claim there are 2 securities of Ripple, a stock and XRP.
They won't IPO until after this case is over.
Until after this case is over, and there'll be clarity at that point. So,
yeah.
Don't worry about that. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend, and thank you for all the super chats. I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm PattyXRP.
And we're out.
See y'all. Have a good Saturday.
All right. Good weekend.